All right, the next question concerns the issue of vendors on the sidewalks. And I'll ask similar questions to each of you. For Councilmember Sears, you've called for vendor-free zones in the district. So where do you believe these zones should be, and why do you think the vendors should leave those areas? And for Mr. Drum and Mr. Calathara, do you agree with Councilmember Sears' position? Why or why not? And do you think any changes should be made regarding where street vendors can be?
So, all right. Oh, well. You want me to go? All right.
Yeah.
She is the one who proposed. So we have to know what she did propose. I don't know.
The issue of the vendors in this area, and as I look around the room, I see people in this room have come into my office. They've come into my office over the several years and have complained about the vendors. They complained because they couldn't walk on the street. They complained because the streets weren't clean, and I see some of them shaking their heads. Yes, that's true. That doesn't mean that we don't have a place for vendors. Our merchants cannot get their customers into the doors. We are overcrowded with vendors. They come here because they can earn a living, and they should. So where do we have zones for vendors? What do we do about that? That is something that we must sit, and as a matter of fact, we're planning a meeting, the Latino Chamber of Commerce and myself, meeting with the vendors to exactly discuss that very thing. We have not excluded vendors. We've asked for a meeting for them, and we've looked at how we can assimilate the vendors that are on our streets to be part of the merchant, the business community, so that the merchants, the vendors, can all make a very viable community and they can earn their livings. So that is what we're doing in terms of the vendors. They're zone free. We have to look and work with the vendors and the city as to where we do that. Because remember, when something is zone free, it's done legislatively. We just don't designate it. It has to be done legislatively. And hopefully that we can do that as we continue and we work with the vendors to see exactly how we can create an environment that is harmonious for each and every one, including the residents and including the people that are in this room who have complained about the vendors. Thank you.
I'm very glad to see the council member has changed her position on this, because I felt that the proposal that she had put forth was ineffective and insensitive. And I'll tell you what I mean by both of those things. The proposal that she put forth would be from about 73rd Street, if I'm not mistaken, up to 82nd Street on this side of 37th Avenue. Most of the vendors are on the other side of 37th Avenue, and that is in Councilmember Jalissa Ferreras' district, and I think she's confused about that. And I also feel that it's insensitive because most of our vendors are recent immigrants into this country, and they are trying to earn an honest living. And they, too, have families, and they need to be able to survive. And I think this is the perfect case of taking an axe where you need a scalpel. And if there are problems with the one or two vendors that are in the neighborhood who shouldn't be here or who don't have the proper license, then what we need to really be talking about is enforcement, not taking an axe to deal with a problem that needs a scalpel.
After 8 years in the office, she finally realized that vendors on this side is not going to get a lot of vote from this side of the people. That's a very good observation. But the vendors were here for the last 10 years. I've been running around as a lawyer and go to the neighborhood. I mean, the solution, she said, if the vendors are the problem, take them out. And where are they going to go? She never said that. So you push the vendors from 37, make her happy that all the people living on this side will support her. And where are they going to go? They're going to go to Roosevelt? Or they're going to go to Junction Boulevard? Or they're going to go to Broadway? You have to have, when you say something, I'm going to do something, you have to have suggestion. As I agree with him, the people who are vendors here because they wanted to have their life, they wanted to live in this country. The economy is so bad, nobody can make money, and they cannot get a job. So they started maybe borrowing $500 from the family and starting some business. You want to take them off, kick them out, because you want to get more vote. That's not fair. That's not fair to any of the people who are doing vendoring. And there are a lot of vendors in Roosevelt Avenue. There are a lot of vendors on Junction Boulevard. There are a lot of vendors. If they're going to drive you, if you drive them out, they're going to go to Broadway. So you wanted to have a clean neighborhood where your apartment is? Is that what it is? And that is not fair to the people who are working class and they are making their living. That is not fair.